Today, we are talking about all of my best tips and shortcuts that are going to help you use Notion so much faster and more efficiently. Notion is a robust tool, and I know that many of you have the basics covered, but because there are so many features and there's so much that you can do inside of Notion, I feel like it's very easy to overlook a lot of these smaller tips and shortcuts that will really help you to save time overall inside of your workflow. Everything that I share in this video is going to make you get the most out of your Notion workspace, and these are the same strategies that I teach my clients as a certified digital business manager, and they are also the same best practices that I use when I am building a workspace for my Notion consulting clients. I've grouped everything into three categories: keyboard shortcuts, best practices, and general helpful tips. So let's get started with the first category, which consists of all of the shortcuts that are going to help you use Notion faster. Right now, we are in a sample page inside of my workspace. This is an SOP that I'm going to use as the starting point to show you the different shortcuts that are going to make your workflow faster. So the first is a pretty simple one. It's one that I'm sure some people are aware of, but to quickly get headings, you can use the markdown number sign syntax. So that's one number sign and a space to get heading 1, and you do the same to get heading 2 and the same to get heading 3. You can also use slash commands in Notion, so slash command H, and then if you want heading 2, then click enter, and that's going to show you your heading 2 as well. So for this example, I'm going to put purpose because this is the purpose for this SOP. And one thing that usually I like to do for pages is to change the color for the different headings. Sometimes I may alternate, but sometimes I may just have all of them in one color just to give the page some character. And a fast way to do this for all of them, so usually you would go to the block handle here, go to color, and then select whichever cover you want, but I'm not going to repeat that for each of these headings. What I can do is click on the block handle for that block, do Command, Shift, and H, and that's going to apply the last used color settings. And this doesn't just work with if you're going to use the color for text. It also works if you're going to use a background color. So I just change this to green, and if I do Command, Shift, and H, it's going to change the entire background as well. And of course, it also works if you just highlight text inline. So that's a fast way when I am creating SOPs to change colors as well. In this input section of the SOP, you'll see here that I have mentioned some pages and databases. Now, you might want to just click on the actual database in this case and open it up full page. But a lot of the time, I like to use the keyboard shortcut option and click. This is on Mac, and it's going to open it up. Whichever page that's linked is going to open it up inside Peak. And I love this because it is so easy to navigate to different pages that I have linked with or mentioned within a page. Another thing is that you can also open up these pages inside Peak, but it all depends on the settings that you have for that particular database. So let me show you what I mean. For this database, if I open up this page, it's going to open up in center Peak. However, if I go back and I go to the settings, layout, and I see here that the pages are set to open in center peak, but if I change that to side peak, which is usually the default for board databases, and now if I click on it, you'll see that it's opening up here inside peak. So that's a really nice feature option, and click on the mentioned page to open it up inside peak to view the contents of that page much quicker. Another shortcut that I use a lot, which I just used in this example, is Command and the open square bracket. So that's going to go back to the last page that you would have had open. And of course, you can use Command and the close square bracket to go to the page to go forward, essentially. It's essentially going backward and forward based on the pages that you last had open. As we were just there, to close down a page that is open, you can either click this close button here, but a much faster way is to just click escape on your keyboard. That's gonna let you navigate throughout things much faster as well. Just as we used Option and click to open a page inside Peak, we can also use the shortcut Command and click on a page to open that page up in a new tab. Now, if we want to search within our workspace, the command to do that is Command and K. We can also use Command and P. It does the same thing so that we can open up different pages within our workspace. And if I wanted to open up a page here inside of a new tab, because if I just click on it, you'll see that it's going to replace that page. If I come back here and I want to, let's say I want to open up the editorial calendar in a new tab from this command search area, I can use the shortcut Command and Enter. It's going to open up in a new tab, and if I want to go directly to it, I can just click Enter. Notion also has its quick search feature, which is the Command and K shortcut. You can also use Command and P. That's also going to open it up. And if I wanted to open one of these pages in a new tab without going directly to it, I can use the same Command and Enter shortcut that we would have used to open up the @mentioned pages in a new tab as well. To toggle between dark and light mode, the keyboard shortcut is Command, Shift, and L. Now, for me, it's going to take some time because I have quite a few Notion windows open, but as you can see here, that's how you quickly toggle between dark and light mode. And this also works for Notion Calendar. So if you frequently use Notion Calendar, this same command works there as well. Now, I want to move on to the different ways that you can navigate databases faster. And the first thing is that inside of table view, you can actually, there's a checkbox that you, if you hover over the leftmost property, there's a checkbox, and this checkbox is what you can use to make bulk changes to the properties in this database. So you can see here 100 selected, and all of these are, well, these are some of the most commonly used properties that will show up here. If you want to see all of the properties within the database, you click on this three-dot menu. Go to edit property, and here you can make bulk changes to any of these properties in the database. And a good use case for this kind of bulk editing is if you just downloaded a template from Notion Marketplace, or you just purchase a template and the template has like demo data inside of it. What you can do is use the same bulk select all, and then this delete button is going to allow you to delete all of that demo data so that you can start using the template right away. You can also freeze columns in table view by hovering over the left edge of the database, and you'll see this prompt that says drag horizontally to freeze the columns. So once you press on that blue handle, you can drag the column across, or drag this line across, and drop it where you want the columns to freeze. So now when I go from left to right on this database, the title column, it's freezed up to the title column, which is definitely very helpful. And if you want to remove that freeze, you can just drag it back all the way to the left, and then it's back to normal where you can't really see what the title column is. Checkbox properties can also be collapsed in Notion. So what you can do is just hover over the line in between that separates the different checkboxes or the different properties, and drag it all the way to the left. And as you can see, it's very easy to collapse them and make them more minimal. You can also move them to the top or the front of a database. This also works really nicely in list view for you to have a nice checklist as a database. But also to note is that you can see the title of the different properties by just hovering over the icon if you forget, for example. But this is really great for habit trackers because you can have all of the different habits and everything can be lined up in a much cleaner way. Now, in the table view as well, let's say that you wanted to apply a certain value in a property to multiple different pages at the same time. Now, instead of just going, for this example, Instagram, let's say these were also Instagram as well. Instead of going like this, what I would do is highlight the one of the values that it is you want to copy. There's this little circle that appears on the right bottom edge, and you can drag down to as many cells as you want, and that's going to allow you to apply those changes across multiple pages. And you can do the same by so what I'm doing right now is I am pressing down and kind of dragging a little bit over this particular cell, and then you can drag it down like this, and you can also delete the different properties as well. Another way, if you don't want to highlight and then drag, is just to hover over it while pressing Command C to copy, highlighting all of these cells, and then Command V to paste. That's another way to do it. And then the last way to do it is if you use the same bulk edit property, but instead of selecting all of them, all of the cells from the top, what you can do is select the ones that you want to apply to individually. So let's say this one is Instagram, this one is also Instagram, and this one is also Instagram, this one and this one and this one. So you'll see this menu appear on the top here. And what I can do is go across to that same three-dot menu, edit property, and this property is platform, and then select Instagram, and I'm just going to press escape to unhighlight them. But that's another way to apply the same value of a property to multiple different pages at the same time. Now, if I open up this page here inside Peak, and let's say I want to navigate up and down all of the pages in this database, but in the side Peak view, I can click these arrows to go down to the next page. But another way to do it is, and when you hover over it, you also see the keyboard shortcut. So in this case, that's going to be Control, Shift, and J. So if I click perform that shortcut, you'll see that I'm easily able to go up and down. If I do Control, Shift, and K, I'm going to be able to move back up to the particular pages in that database. So it just helps with navigating things much faster, especially if you maybe have some multiple pages to edit inside of a database. Now, I want to move across to my home page to show you this next one. So I'm going to go to Home. And I'm going to scroll down to this online presence database that I have here. Now, let's say I had quite a few links to add to this database. I could click New Page and then type, and then come here and click New Page again, enter, type. But a faster way to do it is to just click Shift and Enter, and that's just going to allow you to start typing much faster instead of having to go to your mouse and then come back to New Page. It's just going to make things significantly faster. So now what I want to do is edit, delete all of these. So I'm going to use that same bulk edit to delete all of those pages. Now let's move across to calendar view, a calendar view database. That'll be like my marketing database. Now, if I want to move around things in bulk in calendar view, one thing that I do to make the process faster is to just highlight. So you're going to click and press across to highlight the different pages, and then you can kind of bulk drag them across to wherever you want them to be. So that's clicking and then dragging up. And as you can see, it makes it a lot easier to move across pages instead of kind of moving them one by one by one. So yeah, definitely something that saves time overall. The next thing that you can do inside of calendar view, which is really cool, is you can actually drag pages directly into the calendar database. If you come up here and you'll see no date, these are all of the pages within your database that you haven't applied a date property, a date to. So what I can do, let's say that I'm thinking about scheduling or posting a particular video on this day. I can just drag it across. And let's say I want this one to come across here, and from there you can drag it to whatever days that you want them to. In this case, I do not want to do that, so I'm just gonna come across here and remove the date so that it's also not scheduled inside of my actual editorial calendar. Okay, I want to move across to one of my habit trackers. This one, just to show you how it is you can apply database titles, like if you don't know what to put the title as, which is a common kind of problem that you come across in habit trackers. So if I go across here to the template to edit the template for this habit, a lot of the times I see that people might put like day 1 here or day 2, or they might even put like the actual day in by typing it out like this. But a much faster way, especially if you provide habit trackers to your community, or if you're a creator who's creating habit trackers, is to just add mention and put today, but you want to put date when duplicated. So that way, when the person that's using your template is duplicating or creating a new page, they don't have to manually going and write in the day or anything like that. It's going to be done for them. And the same for the date property. Once you are here, and this is in the template, once you're editing the template, and you have a date when duplicated, that's going to mean that when I come across here to the actual habit tracker and I click new, today's date is already applied, and you can also see today's date here as well. And of course, I can go across and check off the habits and move along with my day. This is the last shortcut or tip rather, is you can hide database icons to make the database look much cleaner. So if you come across to the database settings and go to layout, you can choose to show the page icon or hide it. And I just find that hiding it makes everything look a lot less cluttered. There are use cases where I do want to see the icon, but mostly across my workspace, I have my database icons hidden, especially in like a table view where I just want to see kind of all the information at a glance. We're moving in now to this section that's about best practices for your workspace. And to illustrate this, first, I'm going to go across to my home page in the sidebar. And we're just going to briefly touch on the concept of master databases. This is something that I have discussed in a previous video, so I will link that in the description at the end of the video as well. But all of these databases that you see here, they are linked databases. They're not the original databases or the source databases. And I know this because if I click on the database there, I can click show database title, and I see this arrow, which tells me that it is a linked database, not the original database. The original database, so if I click on this particular database, the original database is located on this back-end page. So if I click on back-end, you'll see that this is where I have all of my master databases. And this is really a best practice that I implement in all of the workspaces that I build, because it can be true chaos when you are going through a template or a workspace and you have no idea what is the linked database and what is the master database. You don't know where the master database is. This way, I have this really nice overview of all of my master databases. There's no question about where they are located. Everything is on this page that I can come to edit different database views. And I know that everything on other parts of my workspace, so for example, if I go back to my home page, I know that all of these are linked views of my master databases or of my source databases. So if I accidentally delete one of these databases here, it's not going to be a problem because I already have the actual source database on my back end page. So none of those things, I don't have to worry about any of those things. And it also just, again, it really helps you to add structure to your workspace. A lot of the times, like if I am going to add a new database, I add it to my backend page first, and then I link it out. So it allows me to create the different views. It helps me to figure out what it is that I actually need and want for that workflow. And then I can have that on either my home page or on a separate dashboard page. Since we are talking about databases and master databases, another best practice that I use, and I try to really structure like my home base and other pages in this way, is I use database dashboards. So this is a database dashboard. This is a database dashboard. This is really a good example of it. So what this is it's a bunch or a group of different databases that are all linked to the same place. They're all linked in this dashboard, right? So this, for example, this database is my online presence database. This is my task database. This is my knowledge base database, job applications, and I have 6 more. These are all easily accessible. They're different databases, but they're all grouped together in this one, or they're all linked together in this one dashboard. And this is really helpful because I don't have to have like a bunch of different separate databases stacked. It helps me to group things much better. So this particular database dashboard, I have named it as action base. So if I'm in my sidebar here and I come down to action base, you can see that this is that same database dashboard that you would have seen on my home page. I've just given it a name, and this is another best practice. I try to name all of my database dashboards because it helps so much, especially on mobile when you're navigating things, but it helps to know exactly what this group of linked databases is. So I've named all of these. I've named this one, which is my time tracker, and the action base is the one that I use the most. But if you don't name it, let me see if I remove the name. I want to show you what it shows up as. Yeah, so if you don't have an icon and if you don't have a title, you just see this view of online presence and essentially all of the different database titles that you have here. But if I hover over the top of the database dashboard and I click add a title, this is where I can add my name, which is action base, and I know once I've named it what all of these different databases are. And I also add an icon for all of my database dashboards, and I try to have it be gray. I just choose a particular color so that I know when I'm looking at my sidebar, okay, these are all database dashboards. This is not. These are actual just my source databases that are on my home page. So I hope that makes sense. These are kind of the things that you really see the value of when you're actually navigating your workspace over time. And as I said, especially on mobile, it's so much easier to navigate to these because now I can actually favorite it. So in my favorites, you can see here I have my action base favorited. So if I did not have it named, it would just be view of whatever and I wouldn't know what it was. I wouldn't know. It's just a lot cleaner when you actually name it. So that is my rant on database dashboards and naming them. The next tip and kind of best practice that I use is to use pinned tabs. So if I have, let's say I open up my DBM goals database. If I right click at the top here, you'll see this option to pin tab, and this is going to have it kind of lined up here, and it's not going to close down like other tabs will. So for example, if I have this today one open, I can easily close it down, but to close down a pin tab, you're going to have to right click on it and click unpin tab. So I really like it, and then you'll see it open kind of full in this way, and then you can close it down. But I really like having these pin tabs here because this just makes this more feel like my home base, because I can click through. So I have my finance tracker, I have some notes, learning Japanese, I have my gym workouts, and then I have this scratch pad. These are things that I refer to multiple times for the week, and of course my home page. So that is why I have them pinned, but definitely helpful so that you don't have a whole bunch of these tabs open up. That's why this feature was created, to keep things more minimal, more structured, and just much more cleaner. Since we just kind of touched on the scratch pad, this is also something that I love to have. I have this kind of in the, if I collapse these, I have this in the private area of my workspace. And this is exactly that. Like I would, if I'm using Notion AI a lot, I might type out whatever it is, if it's a caption for something or if it's a question that I'm asking, I'll use this just as a place to store my kind of fleeting notes, anything that I wanted to delete after. So as you can see, this page is mostly empty. I'm going to delete this afterwards because this is just a copy of the actual SOP that I have in my workspace that I was using for this particular video. But this is just a nice place to have somewhere to begin typing very quickly within your workspace. And I always have it pinned, so I know that, okay, this is, if it's something that I'm just brainstorming, like I don't have an actual page for it yet, then I will come to my scratch pad and create the page or just start typing right here. So very handy for those quick kind of jottings and quick notes. These last few are some general helpful tips for using different Notion blocks. So the first is that you can now pretty easily add a callout box and insert columns into a callout box or even a toggle heading. So I can do that by creating the callout blocks and then going to column. And let's say I want to add 3 columns in. In this example, you can see that I have the columns here. Now, the second one I'm going to show you on my home page. So you may have noticed that I have these database dashboards inside of a call out box. And I do this just to add some structure, also really some constraints to the different databases and to have some sections. But the one downside of this is if I wanted to remove the databases or database dashboard from the call out, the block handle does not really appear on the left side here. So what I usually do is just drag an empty block to the top here, and now you'll see that the block handle for the database dashboard is here, and I can move it outside if I wanted to, but I don't want to. I want to keep it inside of there. But that's just helpful to know if you do move these databases inside of a call out box, that is how you can remove it. The last tip that I want to share with you is a really important one, and that is to change your Notion domain name pretty much as soon as you can, as soon as you start using Notion. So you do that by going to the sidebar, going to settings, and then going to public pages. And this is where you'll see your domain name. There's a 3-dot menu here that will allow you to update the name if you don't have one. If you don't set this, Notion has a randomly generated series of words that will be your default domain name. And especially if you are a creator who plans on selling templates, or if you plan on working with others inside of a team space or within your Notion workspace, it really helps to keep everything on brand if you have your business name or if you have your name or whatever the company name is as your domain name. That way, everything just remains on brand, and it's really difficult. Like if you look to change this afterwards, you'll have to redo all of your template links, and it's just going to be a much bigger headache, and most likely it's not even going to be feasible. So definitely try to have this changed and updated as soon as you start using Notion. All right, those were all of my best tips for helping you use Notion faster. I have everything inside of this week's newsletter, which I will link below. So all of the notes, all of the shortcuts and everything is linked inside of that newsletter issue. And if you found this helpful, leave a comment below letting me know which of these was your favorite tip or which one you might not have known about before. And I will see you in the next week's video.